Bless up, guys. Yannick Reid here, and welcome back to a One Par podcast. You don't know it's a podcast where we talk about culture, technology, and lifestyle, and just everything in between. Welcome back. If you're here for your first time, you know that the podcast is available on all streaming platforms, and you don't know, you can subscribe on YouTube and share it with a friend. So, as we have started the trend of guests, we already have one man guest, so we can't just have man. So the first lady guest on our One Power podcast is someone who is near and dear to my heart. It's my G from time, Taylor Chung. She works in entertainment. We're not loading up her business, but I can tell you this is one of the most intelligent young women I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. And fun fact, I used to report to her, when I worked in semi-corporate, I had to report to her, and she's a great boss. So we moved from boss and subordinate to where we're actually friends. So Taylor, welcome to a One Power podcast. I'm surprised that you actually want to be here. I'm honored because, I hold you in very high esteem, very intelligent.
Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. And I think we always have discussions together that are very interesting. And Taylor said, you know what? When am I coming on the podcast? I said, what? All right, cool. I'm going to bring it on. And she's here. And she's here to represent the ladies. I said, what do you want to talk about, Taylor? She said, anything as long as we're talking about the ladies. And I said, all right, cool, no problem. We're going to talk about the ladies. So this is going to be a very fun and challenging podcast.
Nothing new. That's pretty much our friendship.
That is pretty much what we do all the time. So Taylor, I've heard you say this before. I think this is what I want to. You always say you're a girl's girl. You're for the girls.
1,000%.
1,000%. What does it mean to be a girl's girl?
So for me, all it means is that I support women. It's very important to me that women are well represented, that they feel welcome in spaces, and that they feel safe more than anything else. So that's really all I mean by a girl's girl. It don't mean that I love every woman in the world and that I'm going to be friends with everybody, because I can also dislike some women based on their personality, which I do. But just generally, I love women. I love what they stand for. I love who they are. And I think everybody should as well.
Okay, we can agree there. From me explain that now, I have a question, especially. So a lot of these things, I have preconceived notions as a man.
Okay.
So it's always good to actually ask a woman about these things. So, okay, when you're a girl's girl, right? What's the opposite of being I don't even want to say the opposite, but when I hear women say, she's not a girl's girl, what does that look like? Or what's the feel?
I mean, I can only speak for myself, but if I hear that from a woman, then I'm just of the assumption that I'm not safe with you. Maybe you're a little bit male-centered. Maybe you might put a man above me. You might put his needs, his wants over me, my safety. And that doesn't mean that, say me and you having an argument, it don't mean that I think a woman should never side with you in the argument. I don't believe that, because if you're making points, you're making points. If I am wrong, I am wrong, and I have to accept that. But if it's a case where, for example, me and like a girlfriend go out, and she drove me there, but she decided she want to live with man. Hello?
Okay,
you're not a girl's girl, because me and you made plans for that night. Me and you got together. I did not drive myself here. I don't have another way to get home except you, because you were my plan. You were my drive. But
so it's just like a lack of solidarity.
Yeah.
Sisterhood.
It's a lack of consideration for a woman.
I know you always say that you're a feminist.
Yes.
And I know feminism is one of the most triggering terms in the Jamaican landscape. And I'm not asking for a textbook definition. I think I have an understanding of what feminism is. But just so the listeners know, we just start the podcast clean. What would you consider as feminism?
I think it is similar to my definition of being a girl's girl. Because I think, as crazy as it might sound, I think a man could be a girl's girl.
Okay.
Yeah, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
But a man can be a feminist, a woman can be a feminist. Because it really just means understanding and believing that women deserve the same rights that men have. That my gender should not prevent me from getting a job, from being able to vote, from being treated fairly in a space, from being able to play a certain sport. Like, my gender should not prevent me from getting through certain doors.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. I think a lot of people hear feminism and just think that it just means
hating men.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is that there's actually a term for misandry.
Yeah.
Which for that, which I would say there are some people who I say online who are just like, oh, I'm fine, I hate men.
Which is okay.
Which I also think is
perfectly fine.
My hot take is I don't love man. So like when a girl say I hate men, I'm just like, I get it. You know what I mean? I don't say pandering, but I don't like men en masse. This is just, I guess, a very pervasive thing in dancehall, but just like the whole thing of like dance, like artists just rolling with like 20 men and there's like 3 women. I get it and I don't get it.
I don't get it.
That's that.
I don't get it. I will never get it. I will never understand it.
I was explained that it is for their safety.
It is not for anybody's safety because half of the 75% of the time is somebody in them entourage starting a fight, starting a problem, starting a problem with promoter, with security, with the police, with another patron. 75% of the time, it is somebody in the entourage. And it's not typically the artist, but the artist's name will get called because we don't know who the fuck you recommend is.
Yeah, you're
we don't know
them.
who they are. All you're going to hear is X-Man catch up in a fight. When it was not him in the first place. But the entourage thing is not for safety. They have a security, sometimes them have too.
And Taylor would know. Taylor actually, just trust me when I say it, Taylor would actually know. Obviously, I have obviously more male friends than female friends, but anytime we are touch road and if it's not literally like, if it's just like, all right, the man in my role is like, a mixed crowd is always the most desirable, you know what I mean? Even if it's not like, oh, look, no girl, but just mixed company, feminine.
One presence.
Yeah. And it
makes everything better.
Everything better. And I always say, girl will get more girls. So if you want to get girl, the best thing you can do is just roll with girl because girls attract girls. So, but yeah, so feminism is pretty much just equality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just believing that gender shouldn't be a factor in terms of what people should be capable of or be able to do. Okay, cool. Yeah. That's fine. So why do you think that term like triggers people so much? We should say that Taylor is not speaking for everybody or all women. She's just speaking from her perspective apart.
For sure. I was trying to be a little politically correct a while ago, but I think people are very ignorant and I think people are very illiterate. I think people hear the term and they assign a different meaning. Or they saw somebody or heard somebody use it incorrectly. And so that is their perception of what it means and what it is. When that's not the case, but people are lazy right now. People don't want to do their own research. They don't want to actually find out what things mean for themselves. They want information to just be given to them, just handed to them. And because of that, we have this disconnect. And it's the lack of information that's really getting to them. But I believe that is the case for women. And that is because I think very highly of women. I think we're very intelligent. By nature, I think we're very intelligent. I think that is a disconnect there. With men, I think a big part of the issue is they realize, women are also intelligent. If a woman is being allowed the same possibilities, the same rights, the same opportunities that I am, I now have more competition. Women are now going to get financially more secure, they're getting more independent, and now men have to offer more than just money. Because it's no longer a case where I as a woman need a man to be able to get a house, a mortgage, a car loan, even open a bank account. I don't actually need you anymore. So now you need to do actual work to be emotionally intelligent, to offer me something else for me to actually want to be in a relationship with you. Men don't want to go through that because they didn't learn to. They weren't taught to. They never had to. And now it feels like, well, now the entire game changed. The whole time I was growing up, it was just the man make the money, the woman take care of the children, take care of the house, whatever. Now, everything I was told growing up has changed, and I now need to do work on myself, which is hard. It's a huge task. It takes long. It takes forever. Like, you constantly have to work on yourself. They don't want to put in that work.
Even though, men and women should have equal opportunities. I believe that, It's like sometimes I feel like people want to deny that, like, there are things that make women inherently feminine and there are things that make men inherently masculine. And mind you, this is not me talking about, like, sexuality or anything.
Okay.
It is just sometimes I feel like people are unwilling to admit that they are just, like femininity actually represents something and masculinity represents something. I feel like, and I don't know if this book got cancelled or not, but I found it helpful. Like, as a youth, I did read Men Are From Mars and Men Are From Venus. And I think what was helpful about that book is that they highlighted some things that women inherently value and things that men inherently value. And I was just like, I kind of see that like women are very big on, like, community.
Okay.
And they work through a lot of things through community. And I guess part of that is nature versus nurture, whereas men, we value community, but it's not in the same way. Like how, girls can have, like, a girls' night where they just all come over and they just cuddle with each other on a bed. Even, like, take sexuality out of the picture. Like, I don't even, like, men don't do that. It's more, we like to figure things out on our own. Like, we like to go one side, do the work, and then we like to come and, like, we like to show up with the work finished. And even, like, what I saw in that book, why sometimes it's really hard sometimes for men and women to kind of get along. Like, one of the easiest things is that, like, sometimes women are trying to express, and expressing is how they build community and feel closeness, where men are trying to solve. And sometimes when you are just venting to me, or like you're not really looking to me for a solution, I skip the opportunity to just hold space for you. And I just go immediately into, all right, Taylor, here what you need to do. And there's that side. Do you see any value in that, or does that make sense to you? Or do you just feel like that just has assumptions placed all over it already?
I think a lot of it is learned behavior. Based on, like, your last points, in terms of, like, me as a woman, I have a problem, I come to you and, you may jump straight to logic. I actually don't think that's necessarily a inherently male trait. I think it's learned behavior, because I can actually, speaking for myself, I have always been very logical. Like, even my friends know I've never been, or I never used to be. Let me say that. I never used to be the one who you come to with your problems and I'm like, so sorry, that happened, comfort. That was never me. I was always like, this is what we're going to do about this. This is how we solve it. I had to unlearn that by going to therapy, because therapy showed me, like, I was applying logic to situations that didn't necessarily need logic. So, as you said, in those moments, maybe my friends really just needed comfort. I did not have the skill set to provide that. I genuinely didn't have it. And I actually have male friends who are way better at it than I am. I will tell them my problems and they're like, what do you think you need in this moment? Like, do you just need to continue venting? Do you want a solution? Do you want to move on? Like, emotionally, they're so much more, like, tapped in than I am. And they kind of had to learn the opposite in terms of applying, like, logic to a situation. That's why I think it is learned behavior. And you see it in society where men are not encouraged to be, like, emotional beings. They're not encouraged to cry. And crying, I have learned, is so beneficial. Like, you feel so much better. It gives you so much clarity. And once again, you guys aren't grown in that way.
Yeah, it's rough still.
Yeah. But I do think you guys are good at developing your own communities over common interests. Football, Jesus. 90% of the men I know can become friends today because they sit down at the bar watching some football match,
That's very
some
true.
basketball, whatever.
So just a different kind of community.
Yeah, and it's even like bringing my male friends from different groups together. You guys will click almost instantly. Like, I think that's probably how you met like Dundas. Like it was me in the same space. And now I could go out and see you and Dundas talking. Like I don't even have to be
That's
there.
true. That's true.
But it's not that easy with women.
Why is that? I'm actually curious about. I'd love to hear. Why is that?
I'm trying to figure it out myself. Like from my end, I know I appear to be very standoffish. I know I have that look on my face.
You have
that
a
look
very
of like,
intimidating aura.
yeah, don't talk to me, don't. But that's not the case. Like I'm very nice. Like if you, as a woman, start talking to me, we could be best friends today because I love women.
That's true.
But I am also not the one to kind of make that first step or that first move to start the friendship because I never know how a woman is going to react.
I want to focus on that. Like, why does it feel? Why does like a woman's reaction to another woman feel so unpredictable?
Sometimes the woman might be a straight up bitch. Sometimes worse, if a man is involved, you don't know if it's her man and she don't want you talking to him and it's a whole thing or whatever. Sometimes it can be that her friend did have a problem with you. You don't know that there is some
preconceived
whatever in the group. And there's so many reasons. And unfortunately, I have found in my experience, a lot of time it have to do with a man. I personally don't like that. But I also have felt like maybe there is something I am also not doing. Like maybe I could be more outgoing in terms of trying to start those friendships. Because becoming friends with a man, I'm an attractive woman. It's very easy to become friends with a man. Friends. Quote unquote friends. It's easy. Easy. But when it comes to women, I guess, I don't know. For me, it's just...
Has it been easy for you to make female friends, like friends with women, or is it something that has been tricky?
I wouldn't say it's been easy, but I'm also very picky. I am not the type of person, and this goes for friends across the board, male or female.
Yeah.
I'm not the type of friend who is going to sit through foolishness. Like, if you do something, maybe I'll talk to you about it one time, depending on how severe it is. But if I see like repeated behavior or you do something very bad, I'm fine continuing. I am fine being alone. Like, I don't need to have friends so badly that I'm going to keep people who have wronged me in my life.
Okay, not en masse. Okay.
I can't do it.
Okay, you mentioned a lot of really good points. I still feel like so based on what you said, you still don't feel like there are things inherent to men different from women.
I think biologically there are things. I think typically men are shaped a certain way. You guys obviously have more testosterone. You guys are typically taller than we are. You're typically a bit bulkier. Like I think those things, yes. Like you guys will typically grow facial hair or more exaggerated facial hair. Like those things, yes. But I think because of how much, and I'm going to call it damage, because of how much damage has been done to the society over decades, it's really hard to determine what really is just because you're a man versus because you're a woman.
Yeah, and I know it's like a really complicated discussion to kind of have. But I still think it's valuable because I feel like there's just like this continuous battle of the sexes that's happening. I don't know if it will ever end, but I really try to listen to both sides. And I feel like even right now, a lot of the things that women are saying are that the men are behaving like bad bitches. You get me? like I hear that a lot. Like the men are.
They are.
All right, so
they are. But bad bitch doesn't just mean a woman.
Let's get into it.
I'm talking, you're in the club. Why is the man standing on the bar? What are you doing up there? What are you doing on the bar? What are you doing on the couch in the section? That's not for you. It's not for you. Men are not supposed to want to be this pretty shiny trophy in the middle of a club. No, that is for a woman. That is for women to stand up and look sexy and get the attention of yes, other men and women. That is the point. That is for us. Men, in my opinion, are not typically attractive people. Sorry, it is. There are 10 attractive
They're
men
not
in Jamaica,
eye candy,
and there are 100,050 million attractive women in Jamaica. Men are not attractive. And you don't need to be. Like, take care of yourself, yes, whatever, but that is not for you guys. This whole... And then when they take the argument further in terms of dates, and it's like, I've literally heard a man say, oh, why can't she open my car door? Why? Why?
So I feel like when you say that now, it's like, I agree with you, you know. But I feel like even that is now... So you do believe in gender roles then?
To an extent.
Because basically that sounds like it's not traditional gender roles. It's not like, oh, woman in the kitchen, or whatever. But it's like, I say, all right, man, not for the on court. And I mean, mind you, I agree. I agree. But in just the interest of just digging into it, to just really say, all right, let's try and be fair, is that you're saying, all right, there are behaviors that are, or things and activities that we leave for women, and there are things and activities that we leave for men.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable enough, right? And I think it's like, be more empathetic, but then you be more empathetic, and then it's just like, oh, you're not leaning into your masculinity, and then women say, okay, men need to lead, and then when we lead, we hear that we're not doing this and we're not doing that, so it's almost like this negotiation of what men need to be like women are just okay how they are, like crazy. But, and I think I agree, like men actually have work to do, but I feel like the goalposts, like just observing, I feel like we don't come to a consensus in terms of what we want. And I think no woman all wants the same thing, you know what I mean? Women aren't a monolith. But it definitely does feel like it moving around the place in terms of, like, I can say, like, even just representing my friend them. It's like sometimes, if I'm being honest, sometimes I have to just tune out what woman I say.
Okay.
I know they're not going to like,
No,
but
I'm listening. I'm listening.
Just in the spirit of being honest and bringing the truth here, it's like sometimes, and I think honestly, to me, in a way that feels masculine, sometimes you have to be able to tune out external opinions on what you need to be doing. And I think men and women can access masculine and female, feminine behaviors. But I think something that does feel inherently masculine, or I guess inherently just due to socialization, is that you have to really know where you're at the end of the day, because nobody not really coming to save we. You know what I mean? Like, there's always a man ready to save a woman. You know what I mean? There's always a man ready to save a woman, whether she like it or not. It may not be the man that she wants, but there is a man ready to save a woman. But I think men know from an early point that, all right, nobody not coming to save you. So there is a very inherent need to, like, if you just spend your life paying attention to, okay, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do. And I find especially with women, especially as it comes to like courting women too, is that a lot of times women will lead you to your own failure if you don't root it in what you're supposed to do, to a point where a woman can just be attracted to who you are and what the decisions you make, instead of tailoring yourself to behave in a way that she wants you to behave.
So, to start, I don't feel sorry for you guys. I don't. You guys created the system and the world that we live in right now. All of this is because of men. All of it. You guys determined that it was going to be this way. Based on your rules, your laws, your behaviors. You guys, it's your fault. But I will also say, the whole focusing on building yourself because nobody's coming to save you thing, blah, 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 that also comes because you guys, an earlier point I made was about you guys building a community. Yeah. Your community is very shaky. because it's not built on any kind of stability. Football match, this, the bar, the games, the drinking, the whatever, that's light and that's easy and that requires very little responsibility. It requires very little commitment from you guys. And I think that's where you guys fail, because things start to get hard because commitment requires a certain level of emotional intelligence. You need to be able to compromise. You need to be able to accept your flaws, accept where you need to improve, where maybe you're not doing so well. And you guys take it very personally. Like it is the end of the world if a woman is like, you do this constantly and I don't like it. Nothing changes. Then you see, well, she's just trying to start an argument. All she wants to do is fight. When you genuinely could have a good woman beside you, but she's saying, this is where you're failing. This is where I need you to improve, and you're unwilling to improve. And then you guys jump to, oh, she's trying to change me. She's trying to this, she's trying to that. There is a big difference between somebody trying to change who you are as a person, which comes down to your values, your core beliefs, versus something that is just a tiny flaw that you could switch and everybody could be happy. But you guys can't. You can't make the distinction. And that's where we fall off. That's where we have an issue. But I also believe, if you believe, genuinely believe, not because Pop can't tell you so, but if you genuinely believe that you're a good person, you know you're a good man, if you're religious, you know, maybe you're a God-fearing man, whatever your beliefs are, if you genuinely believe that, then why are you changing yourself for a woman? It simply means you have chosen a woman who is not for you. You've chosen a partner that you should not be with, and you've probably chosen her for superficial reasons. You've probably chosen her because, as I said before, she's a bad bitch. You picked her up in the club, you picked her up wherever, you see her, she's always looking good, hair done, nails done, this done, that done, always out, always whatever. And maybe her beliefs and her core values don't align with yours. But you want her because she's a trophy. She look good. You can't tell your Bridget and say, yeah, that's my girl, that's this, that, But you guys get very caught up in that. Especially, I've seen it so many times. A man could have a good woman, he start make a little bit more money, he start, life get a little better, and he starts getting the attention of women who would not have looked on him before. Because we know they're out there, maybe they're only interested in you because of the money, but you can't see past that. And then you wonder why you end up in problems. You wonder why this girl don't like you, why she don't want nothing for you. It's because she doesn't like you and you actually don't like her.
Oh boy, so many bars. You know, she start off with she don't start for men. When you hear men complaining about these challenges, you don't care.
Stop. Do something, because you can do something about it in your own personal life. You can make better decisions for yourself, but you choose not to, or you choose to sit down and complain. I don't want to hear it. I really don't.
This is fascinating. I'm processing so much that you drop a whole lot of bars. As I talk to my brethren about this, I was just like, oh man, them, to be honest still, if we just go fishing in the Instagram pool, you're gonna get an Instagram girl, you know what I mean? And if you find a girl, if you see a girl that is a bag of likes that she depend, you're going to have to play a game that is, matching a bag of likes, you know what I mean? You have to look elsewhere. This just popped into my head because I have a theory. And I think I said it to you the other day. I was saying that, like, Kingston girls, them just hard to work with.
Hard to work with?
Like me say, town girl. I mean, if I say town girl, is a wash right now.
Okay, so being a town girl, I want to understand why.
No, the funny thing is, I thought you were, remember
you told me that.
I messaged her and I said, Taylor, where you come from again? Which part of the country? And you're like, town. And I was just like, oh my God.
I remember you were so shocked.
I was very shocked. Because, all right, let me share with you my experience and you can comment.
Okay.
So, I went to college, right? I went to Edna. So, it's like a mixture of people, especially, people from not Kingston. I would have like a girl group and a girl would have said, Yannick, you eat from there today? I said, not yet. Oh, yo, you don't want some of my lunch? I have so much. I say, yo. I said, what's going on here? And like, they would have said, how are you? And they would ask about your well-being and if you're all right.
Okay.
And like, if you're talking to them, you know, like, they're in, like, they would be like, oh, so how you feel about that and stuff like that? And like, what does I say? What's going on here? And then it continued even when, you know, I leave college. It's just an unusual, like, just concern. And it's like, I've been talking to a girl and like, from the sister, like, she's just too concerned about your well-being. I say, yeah, where you come from? And it would have been, oh, I come from Mandeville, or I come from Montego Bay, or I come from Hanover. And then I started to connect the dots, like I got all the way back to college. I said, all of the nice, sweet girl them come from country. And that's why I'm always say, yo, I love country girl, because them just nice. But you see, town girl now, town girl coming like a version of like a Miami girl.
That's insane.
You think it is?
That's so insane.
The only reason, because I thought you were a country girl.
I don't know if I should feel good about this or feel offended. Because I am a town girl. And I think we're genuinely nice people. But I'm speaking for me and like my friend group. Because what you were saying a while ago, I was like, yeah, okay, and like that's normal.
That's why I thought you were a country girl.
In my opinion. That's crazy.
You know, but you do have the sharpness of a town girl. Like town girl, like them sharp. You know what I mean? Like when them say, oh, I don't care. You know what I mean? I talk to a country girl. Well, you know, you guys could kind of, you know, and and you know, just that softness. That softness.
But we're not soft.
No, Kingston girl not soft. Kingston girl not soft. And it's like, it's so funny because even like, yo, when I hear like this whole soft life thing, like women, are you on that wave? The whole soft life thing?
I don't know if I can say yes.
You have soft.
Yeah. Because from what I've seen, what I've heard, I think it's 50-50. I think some people say it in terms of being taken care of completely and never working a day in your life and everything is good and da-da-da-da-da. And then I think other people believe you can create that soft life for yourself. I'm on this side.
You can create the soft life for yourself.
There is nothing I hate more than a man approaching me and using money to try to get me. Immediately turned off by it because it feels like you think you can buy me. And you cannot buy me. You can't, like I'm not an item, I'm not an object to be purchased. I am a human being with thoughts, emotions, feelings, and you need to be able to connect with me on that level. So that's my issue with that. No, I don't think there's anything wrong if somebody else's version of soft life is the man take care of every single thing in your life. Happy for you. If that is what you want and you find a man who is willing to give you that, I'm very happy for the two of you. And I believe we should all have way less opinions on people and their lives and their decisions when it is something that is not harmful to people outside of them.
I agree.
If it's harmful for the two of you and you decide to stay in it, oh well. But
I agree.
If it's not harming people outside of that relationship, it's none of my business. So I am not judging anybody who chooses that option, but that is not the option for me. But the option for me, I believe in that 1,000%. I can definitely live a soft life, but I'm going to have to work for it.
There's this video where like a guy called like him come over a girl place and her place nice and say, oh, what's going on, big money? That was her reaction. So for our listeners, Taylor cringed. She visibly cringed. And I was backing and forthing with a friend. It's just like, yo, I'm to that. It's like, yo, you come in and you say, yo, bomba. Because, I mean, this is a compliment that men would give other men. Like, yo, all right, let me say, yo, dad, money tall. So it's almost like the same. It's just like, yo. And she's just like, no, I hate that. That's an ick. And I was just like, yo, why you don't? It's just like, I don't. And I'm just like, what? Mind you, for the plot twist, I understood what she said, but I just want for our listeners, why if I come in their place, I'm going to say, yo, Taylor, the thing I shot. Money tall. Taylor's face is, you know?
Okay, sorry. sorry, you
Twisty.
you can say that to me because you're my friend.
Mhm.
A man that I am dating, that I'm romantically involved with,
Mm.
no.
I love where this is going. Why?
No.
What?
No.
Okay. Okay. So why? Okay, why is our brethren it cool for that? But why encourage it? Why that turn you off so much?
Because, and let me say, a part of it for me is probably the delivery. So way it was said.
Mhm.
Because if, as a man, you're saying, you're happy that I am successful, that I'm doing whatever for myself, blah, blah, blah. Cool. That's just acknowledgement, appreciation. I respect that. That's great. But you come in on this big money. It feel like you're frightened. Like you're not used to good things. Like that's how it feels.
Mhm.
And for me, that's really unattractive.
That's honest.
That's really unattractive. I'm not saying you need to be super wealthy,
Mhm.
but I am also used to a certain level of like
Comfort.
lifestyle and comfort.
Mhm.
You are not about to come into my life and now things in my life have to change because you can't meet me where I am.
Mhm.
I now need to, I can't go on the trip I want to go on because you can't afford it.
Mhm.
And men have this thing,
Go into it. It's a safe space.
they like to humble you.
Mhm.
If they feel like you're doing better than they are, they need to bring you down to their level. Because once you make it clear you don't need them, which is exactly what it is in that position. If I am making that much more money than you, I am significantly better off than you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need you in that way, in that financial way, which goes back to the fact of you now need to offer me something more than that.
Okay.
And they get stuck, they get frightened when that happens because they realize they don't have nothing else to offer. There are also men who might have that to offer, but they get very insecure about the fact that they can't provide in the way that they feel like they're supposed to provide. Because once again, they were told growing up, this is what a man's supposed to do. A man's supposed to provide. A man's supposed to take care of these things. So when they can't, when they have to they have to put themselves in that situation, that position, they get insecure. That insecurity then also leads to a lot of problems. Let's just avoid it from the beginning.
No, yeah, okay. You're talking. Okay, cool. So it's pretty much like when like that scenario is almost like yo, you need to act like you've been here before.
Please.
And like you're used to something.
Please.
So this is not a setup question. So because you don't know what reason. So a man coming into your life, like them interested in being your partner. Like just for even you specifically, and this is not the guide of how to look, Taylor. Don't do it. It's please don't do it. Don't do it. Anyway, but a man essentially needs to enter in pretty much. Their best chance is that they are living a life that is at least like some tier above you. Can you say you used to
on the same level is fine.
On the same level is fine.
If you're not quite there yet, but you have ambition, I'm also good with that. Because I also understand, I'm young, I'm under 30.
She's very proud of being under 30.
Under 30.
But Taylor behaves like somebody who is over 30, so
I'm under 30.
Squits out. Yeah.
And I think a lot of men who I meet around my age, because I started working really, really young. Like I started working in university actually. So before I got my bachelor's, I had a job. And even before that, I've been privileged enough to be taken care of by, my parents and stuff. Like I didn't have to go through a lot of things that people had to go through in terms of like student loans and stuff like that. Like I was comfortable. So I also understand that a lot of men my age or around my age didn't have the start that I had. So maybe you're still in school, maybe you're getting your master's, maybe you're fresh out of school, or maybe you had that issue of like student loans that you had to fight with. Maybe you have to take care of a parent. Like there are all of these other possibilities that I will consider and I'll be very considerate of. But if you're in that situation, but you're still very ambitious, you have a plan for yourself, you're working hard, when I say this, I mean legal money. I don't mean yeah.
Gotcha.
Whatever. I don't play with that. But if you are an ambitious man, you have a plan, like I see where progress is being made, and on top of that, you're just a good man, I'm fine with that as well.
I feel like that's what a lot of young men want to hear. I feel like, and while I'm glad to hear it from you, obviously, even just observing my male peers, not like my brethren them, is like they're upset that a woman don't want like a trying man. You know what I mean? Like they're very upset that they don't want a man that is not already at the top. Like, okay, I need to be at the top to have a chance. And I guess they feel like the odds stacked up against them. But I think it just goes back to the same thing where you're saying you have to just know who you're trying to build with. You know what I mean? Like, you have to, and as I say, yo, bro, you can't really too upset, because if a girl used to this kind of lifestyle,
Exactly.
And that's just what you want, it really don't make sense trying to argue with her, because it's just going to be pain. You know what I mean? So I do get what you're saying, and I think it's very reasonable, equally yoked and stuff like that. I think like a lot of own girls, they're not on the equally yoked thing. And this is not shade or indictment. Like I've heard women say that, yo, my partner need to be earning more than me. Like they'll have that as a rule. And I say, boy, all right, cool. And even the stuff where you say where like a man will have like, I guess, a high quality woman, and they start to feel insecure about what they are able to do financially. It can rip them apart. Me can't even speak for myself in that, but if like I'm just like, all right, I'm not where I need to be or whatever, you know. And you know, you may have different views about how it go. You know, some men is just like, yo, I guess they believe that one day they might go bust. Taylor wins. I think the average woman nowadays can look and kind of understand a man that is on an actual trajectory versus a man that is just talking about being on a trajectory.
Yeah. And as I say, you have to be coming with other things as well. Like everything cannot just revolve around your job and financially where you think you're going to be. Are you a good person? Are you a good partner?
I feel like just the landscape, it just feels like a lot of it like, you know, men just feel like the value that they bring is just being able to be a provider. And I think
that's what they were taught.
Yeah. So it almost feels like that's the game that everybody is playing right now. So it's just like, oh, I don't need to work on this thing, because if I have everything but the finances, you know, you're a good person, you still can't get shafted for a 50-year-old man with $1 million, you know what I mean?
You could, but I also think, I think we're consuming too much social media. I think that is a huge issue, and that's where most of these conversations are even happening. Because when I have these conversations, because I don't have discussions on social media. I don't.
It's a very rare conversation.
Yeah. But when I'm sitting down with friends one-on-one having this conversation, majority of the time, people have sense. People are saying things that are sensible. Most of the time, people are saying, you know, the partner you choose should depend on what you want, not whatever somebody on the internet told you you should have in a partner. It shouldn't be judging based on this family vlog that you saw or this family account on TikTok, and this is how this girl and her boyfriend operate, and you're comparing yourself to a lot of the times a false life. And even when that time when they were going to get rid of TikTok or ban TikTok in the US, and everybody was going crazy, telling all their secrets, saying, oh, I've actually been lying to you guys for 6 years, and this is not actually true, and I don't actually have all this designer, everything here is actually fake, this is not actually my penthouse, I rent it out for my videos, like stuff like that was happening. And I thought at that point a lot more people would come back to real life and be like, people aren't actually living like this, and the people who are the 1%. But real life, real everyday people aren't living like this. So what you're aspiring to get doesn't actually exist. But then TikTok didn't get deleted, and everybody seemed to forget that all of this was a lie in the first place, and we're back to the same conversations, the same
keeping up with the
ridiculous
Joneses.
ideas, exactly.
That get recycled over and over
again.
Yeah.
It's just jumping from one Instagram couple to the next, and this is your couple goals, and I want to be like them, and I want my man to be like this, and then 6 months down the line it comes out he's cheating, or she actually hates him, and this and that and whatever, and then they just jump to another couple and another couple. But I don't think people are idolizing people in their actual lives. They're not looking at people they actually know, people that they've actually seen their journeys, and I'm not saying it has to be parents, because a lot of us, our parents are not together.
Yeah.
A lot of our parents are divorced, or our uncles, our aunts, or grandparents with how much pick-me.
Yeah.
So maybe they're not the ones to look at, but you could even look at them and say, I don't want this.
Yeah.
Let me not mimic the traits that I've seen in them. And let me not look for, unfortunately, sometimes, not me, I love my daddy, but for other people, let me not look for a man like my father. Let me look for the opposite. Let me notice these red flags because I've experienced it at home. But instead, it goes to social media, and all I see on social media, the man bought her a Birkin, or she is a stay-at-home mother at 22 with 4 children and no job, no security. What? And that's the life you want to live. When you've seen all of these relationships break up, and these people have no second plan, no backup, no whatever, their lives mash up, the Instagram account gone, the TikTok gone, and you're just moved on to idolize somebody else. I think that is a source of a lot of our issues in our actual relationships right now.
Yeah, say something. Wholly that. I mean, I agree with it, because I say, social media is the matrix. You know what I mean? When you talk to people, in real life, they turn off the cameras and people put down their phone. When someone says, shit hard right now, somebody else says, shit hard, you fucked.
Yeah.
And then you do that a couple times and realize, but nobody's really saying that online. You know what I mean? So people are actually having hard times in different ways. We're not so different, but just the posturing that we have to do for social media, we absorb it for long enough, we start to think that this is real, and we're just kind of in the same circle of the whole shit. Because even the last episode I was talking about, a lot of people are lonely and they don't even know how to even articulate it.
Yeah.
They don't even know it. So they don't even know step one, why do I feel like this? I'm just bro, you are lonely. And it's not lonely in terms of, you need a girlfriend or something, but you need a community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You need people around you, and you don't know, especially men have a hard time reaching out and just saying, bro, I just want par for the afternoon, bro. I don't really want to say anything, but I just want par. So that's a whole next thing. You know what I mean? You have a lot of male friends.
Right.
So I want to ask, do you believe in platonic relationship? Do you believe men and women can be friends? I feel it's a corner argument. It's played out, but as someone who I know you have a bunch of male friends, including me, you believe that, is it real, or is it or how do you see it?
It's
Taylor
funny.
is smiling.
I had this conversation with one of my male friends.
She used air quotes.
Recently. I have to, because I feel yes, it is possible. To answer the question, short answer, it is possible.
Okay.
I do have men in my life who I believe the relationship is strictly platonic. But I also believe that I have some male friends who currently things are platonic, but maybe initially it didn't start that way. Maybe initially it started because somebody was attracted to somebody else, but for whatever reason, we didn't decide to pursue that. Or, yes, it started as a platonic friendship, but I know if something was to come up, they would be open to it more than platonic. So that's why there had to be an explanation. Yes, I believe it is possible. I do believe there are some, few, but some men in my life who, no matter what, it will always be strictly platonic. But I know that there are others who, if I want to keep it platonic, it will stay that way. If I want to open the door will open. So, yeah.
Oh God. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying, and I know. Just for what it's worth, Taylor is a very sought after woman, so that's why I say, yo, don't bother to try, because you're joining a long line of publicly known suitors and then hidden suitors who are moonlighting as friends.
I do want to add to that point. I also think it's a red flag if a man does not have any female friends. Like, if all the women in your life are people that you have been involved with romantically at some point, why?
It's suspect.
Yeah, because you don't see women as just equals. You only see them in like a sexual nature, romantic lives. Like, yeah,
I think that's reasonable.
That is a bit of a red flag.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, because I have female friends where it's just like, yo, it's just friendship completely. I enjoy that because I think there's a lot to learn. Like, just to even what you said, is like when you don't have like an actual female friend, it's almost like you can't be completely vulnerable with them, because there's always going to be a part of you that's performing the ideal man around them. But when you can actually be friends with a woman, you can actually be comfortable letting your guard down, because there is no layered hidden agenda, and there's so much that you can really learn from women when you have that space. So even my brethren, them are just like, yo bro, saying that we can just like be friends, you know what I mean? There's a lot you can learn, and even the things that maybe you don't understand about women you're courting, you can ask your actual girlfriends. And especially if you have a female friend that like actually rates you, female friends always want the best for you. I find that like when you have a real genuine female friend, like they want the best for you, like exponentially. So that is like one of the situations where girls will betray girls, because they're not gonna make a girl them don't know come and mash up them friend. So you know what I mean? Like, I have friends where just like I'll screenshot a message and be like, yo, what do you think about this? Because Ray, and then she's just like, she a gay bun.
No, exactly.
Like straight up,
exactly.
She a gay bun.
We're definitely gonna be honest with you. And I find that because of your vulnerability, it allows us to be more honest with you guys, and your male friends don't give you that level of honesty. But apart from that, they also don't give you because they don't understand women the way that we understand women.
No.
A man will tell you straight up, your man, she want you. And honestly, if you show, as you say, if you show one of your female friends the same message, or she's around and observes you guys interacting, she could immediately tell you, leave that girl alone. Like, you're making her uncomfortable. She doesn't want to be in your presence. But that's because we understand, we can pick up on certain hints, certain cues that men will not see. And sometimes because their egos don't allow them to see it, their egos convince them that they can get any and every woman. No, and that will never be the case for any man in the entire world.
It's very key, because the worst thing, I mean, my greatest fear as a man is to end up on the wrong side of a female group chat. Like I toss and turn at night, just saying, I tell you already, I was just like, just don't call me the C word. Don't call me the C word. Corny. Yeah, you're just like, it's just like, oh God, corny. And you're just like, I think corny is fine. I'm just like, no. And you're like, creep. It's just
Creep
like,
is the worst. Like, creep is the worst.
no, we can't even get to creep. But Lord God, if I get to say, oh, he's so corny. Oh God, may God strike
That's
me,
the
please.
thing. At least I could be friends with a corny man. I cannot be friends with a creepy man. If you're a creep, I don't want you anywhere near me, my friends, my family, my anybody. But corny is just, wow, not attracting to you, but you're cool. You could hang out. You could,
God.
you know, we could take it in doses,
Oh
maybe.
God, oh God,
Mm-hmm.
please don't be calling me corny in the group chat. But fair enough. So men and women can be friends.
I think so.
I think so. I believe so. Okay, so let me add a layer on top of that now. So when everybody is single, there's no problems.
Right.
When everybody is single, there's no problems. You see me? When a man get a girlfriend now, he can't have no female bestie. And when girl get a man, she can't have no man bestie. Where you stand on that?
I don't agree with that.
You don't agree with that?
No, I have had some male friends who have been in my life through relationships. I'm talking, once again, like Dundas, from university days. And that's not going anywhere. Like, you as a man can't come into my life and see that I already have these established relationships and want to change that. But I do believe that certain boundaries should be in place. So, whereas right now, Dundas can call me at 3 o'clock in the morning. You can call me at 2 o'clock in the morning. We can go out all night and reach home 5 o'clock in the morning. If I had a partner, things would have to change.
That's a wrap.
Yeah,
Okay.
things would have to be adjusted. So not saying like maybe there's an emergency and somebody give me a call, somebody shoot me a message, but even so, my friend should also respect the relationship to understand certain things need to change, maybe adjust how, like, don't just show up at my house now because me and my man are here. Like, don't just.
I think that's very
you know?
reasonable on both fronts. You know what I mean? Like, there's behavior as single people, and then there's behavior as people in a relationship.
For sure.
I think people, if we're all being reasonable together, one should be able to understand, say, the dynamic has to change a little bit. You know what I mean? Without taking it personal.
And it doesn't mean that it's changing because there was anything romantic about the relationship before. That's not necessarily the case. But there is a certain level of intimacy that you have with you and your friends, especially if it's somebody you consider your best friend. There is a bit of intimacy. And that intimacy does not mean we're having sex. It doesn't mean we're kissing. It doesn't mean we're physically doing anything. But that idea of my mother in the hospital and the first person I'm calling is my male best friend, that's going to switch. That's now my partner. My partner is now the first person. Unless it's a situation where the best friend is a doctor who can help and No, but just for that, like, emotional support and comfort, I would be calling my partner before my male best friend, at least. You know? So it's just little things like that. But people, once again, go back to this whole, oh, she want me change, he want me change, they want me It's like people are unwilling to compromise in a relationship anymore. Because, once again, the internet has told them, society has told them that compromise means you're changing yourself. Like, you're now losing some kind of fight that didn't exist in the first place. But egos.
I would say Jamaican men. I don't want to speak for, or even us Caribbean men. I would say we're very territorial. You know what I mean?
I feel like you triggered me when you said
Jamaican men. Why are you triggered?
I don't think I would date another one.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay, you find something to throw me off.
Sorry, I don't think I would date another one.
You don't think you'd date another Jamaican man?
I don't think so. I don't think I have it in me.
You want to go into this?
No, that's it. I'm just not dating them again.
Oh God, but all Jamaican men are not the same.
Wow, I can't believe you said so a while ago. The all men aren't the same statement.
But it's true.
Come on. I've trained you better than that.
Oh
that
God.
should not leave your mouth.
No, but Taylor, if we can sit here and we can talk about, you can argue with me about country girl versus town girl. So obviously, Kingston girls are not the same. All Jamaican men are not the same.
The statement "all men aren't the same" should not leave your mouth.
Jesus Christ.
Please.
I know.
Should never leave your mouth.
I know the
Should
women
never leave
listening
your
to the podcast now are so happy. Are so happy. Oh my God. So like this whole podcast, I'm wondering when Taylor is going to throw me off. We've gotten there, and it's just like, man, I say it shouldn't bother me, but me and Taylor are so close. It's like I don't feel settled with like a man from another country being with Taylor. Like it feel like the World Cup and somebody score a goal on you. It don't sit well with me.
That's crazy.
Where's oh
When
my
you
God.
come my wedding and my training man, I'll eat him doubles.
All right, you know what? Somebody from the Caribbean doesn't upset
It
me.
has to be. Has to
Okay,
be.
all right,
Has to
okay,
be.
all
I'm
right.
dating an American man. I'm not going to Italy to find a man. No.
Oh
No.
God, if you got there with a black American man, I'd be so
I'm
upset.
gonna keep my comments because I don't know who listens to your podcast.
Taylor is keeping her options open, but it's just like,
But yes, it's Caribbean. It's regional.
okay, if it's Caribbean, I feel
It
much.
has to be. Culturally, there's
I
some
feel-
things that
I feel much better.
I'm not about to explain.
Yeah.
To
You know what I mean?
man
I'm
from
just in
Texas, like,
the interest of giving to the podcast. You know what I mean? Of giving. I know we have a very diverse audience. You know what I mean? And I know I have white friends. But I'm gonna be honest. When the white men take away quality black women, I get so upset.
yeah, but it's on a fault.
I feel like we
It
need.
gets to a point where
She
the
like-
black women are tired of the disrespect that they experience from dating black men, and they say, you know what, I'm gonna switch it up.
I feel like we've found it. You see, when the women them come with this argument about, all right, cool, I go marry a white man because of this. I'm just like, yo, but wanna select a certain type of black man. Wanna select a certain type of Jamaican man that is predisposed to certain behaviors.
I can't
And
speak
then-
for everybody. I can only speak for myself, and that's not the case. My friends will tell you I don't have a type. I don't.
That's how I feel though.
So,
Like I feel like there's like, okay, if I dating black or Jamaican man, they select a certain kind of archetype. And that archetype have a certain set of behaviors. And them like 3/4 behaviors, but then there's a quarter where they really don't like.
yeah.
And then they go and they find a milk toast white man. And it's like, man, I say,
Opposite, yes.
well, obviously it would be a different experience
But
because
that's what people want. I feel like that's the case for anybody who goes through a breakup. If you look at the first person that people date, engage with, any kind of interaction, any romantic, whatever, it is typically the person who has what their partner was lacking. That's typically what it is. It's typically the thing that made you break up with your partner because they didn't have that, they didn't do that. You go looking for somebody who has that or will do that for you. And that is what you kind of latch on to because for however long you're with your partner, that's all you are missing.
Yeah, I said so. Yeah, I said something. So you know what I mean? Taylor is talking and I'm re-evaluating all of my past experiences and saying
It's making sense, right?
I have to go do my homework. I have to do my homework first. But you're talking. You know, growing up, what do you think that like Jamaican girls are like taught that like men aren't? You know what I mean? Or what do you feel like is pushed on Jamaican women, like just growing up, that like men not getting?
Don't have sex.
That's like the biggest one.
Don't have sex. They wouldn't teach you anything else. It was simply don't have sex. But boys, it was don't bring home a baby. It wasn't you can't have sex. It wasn't don't enjoy your sexuality. It wasn't anything like that. you just don't come home with the consequences of it, and women it was don't do it at all.
At all.
Yeah.
I definitely do agree, and I see that where, it's yeah. Obviously, even when you understand interacting with women and things, if you are a man, your greatest adversary, it shouldn't be, but your greatest adversary is usually the girl's father. Because the girl father not interested in a man to come fast with her.
And I find that so funny because my dad was never like that. I could always go to him and say, oh, like, I have a boyfriend. This is my boy. I could bring them to his house, like, introduce them. Like, it was never a problem necessarily. There was even, when I moved out for the first time, my dad actually said, no boys are allowed to come here except your boyfriend. Which I was like, oh, that's cool.
Oh, when you moved out, you said no boys are allowed to come here except your boyfriend?
Except my boyfriend. Yeah. So he's always been understanding of the fact that, because my dad has 3 daughters.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So he's been understanding of the fact that at some point we grow up, we're women, like, we have urges, we're gonna have sex, we're gonna be in, sexual relationships, whatever. He would, of course, never say these words to me. But his actions showed that he was completely understanding of it. And I'm sure he just believes that he has raised his daughters well. Yeah, so they know how to handle themselves. They're gonna make good decisions, is what he believes. And,
So in the alternate timeline where you're a mother, which is clearly not this one,
never gonna happen. Right, but yes.
And you were growing your daughter. You know what I mean? Do you feel like that version of Taylor, just to when I call her nothing?
Yeah.
Do you think she would also kind of have? Do you think you would kind of do it the same way like your dad did, or do you feel like you'd still also have that fear, like, yo, just don't be going out there and having sex or not?
I would like to believe I would implement certain things that my father did or said. Could there have been improvements? Definitely. Right. My father is the typical man who doesn't talk about emotions, feelings, whatever. So I think that's something I would definitely implement. I would hope. My hope is that I would be a mother who would create a safe space for my children. So whatever is happening, no matter if they feel like they made a mistake or whatever, they would feel like they can come and speak to me about it. I wouldn't want to create like a judgmental space or atmosphere, but I would like to believe, I would speak to them about facts, what's actually happening in the world, what's actually happening with their bodies, what's actually happening with their minds, what's going to happen once they start growing up, once they start to get to that age, they want to be in these, relationships and I am an ally. The LGBTQ community, very safe with me. So even if it was a case where, my son was gay, my daughter's a lesbian, whatever it may be, that is not going to impact the conversations or the love or the way that I would try to raise my children.
Okay, great. That's amazing. I feel that. I like to ask people that kind of question because what people would do with their hypothetical or real children reflects a lot of what they actually believe. You know what I mean? Because you have like arbitrary beliefs, but then what you choose to pass on or what you choose to uphold in your household is very indicative of what you personally believe, because obviously you're going to want the best for your children. So what you allow or don't allow them to do, I find you can learn a lot about somebody based on how they would approach it, And even though, like, you touched on something a while ago, and I told you that I wanted to ask you about it. So there was an event, you know what I mean? We're just going to talk about it. I don't want nobody to feel like it's like a shade thing.
Right.
But I think there's always something to learn from these things. They had an event, it's called No Boys Allowed, where obviously it's a party for girls. But, it came out where, a certain type of woman who was dressed in a more masculine fashion wasn't really allowed in. And it bring up a whole lot of different opinions.
Yeah.
I have some opinions. I'd love to hear what yours are.
I believe the security was wrong. I believe it is a party for women. I am a woman, let me in.
As simple as that.
As simple as that. you don't get to determine if I am feminine enough. There was no clause, there was no notes, there was no dress code or public dress code at least that said I need to be in a dress or heels or skirt or whatever, which even that would have been a bit off-putting for me. But in that sense, you're not saying this is an event for women, you're saying that this is an event for a specific type of woman.
Yeah.
And if you choose to do that in your private space, that's not for me to comment on. Would I go? No, because I don't support it. I am not the, masculine looking woman, whatever. I am not being denied entry, but I don't agree with that belief, so I would not support it. But based on how the event was marketed, how it was promoted, they should have let her in because she's a woman. And then to go let in somebody else who's dressed probably exactly the same, but because they have a handbag, they say, all right, yeah, you get through. It further shows how stupid the security guard was. Like, there's no other word for it. You're ignorant. You're stupid.
Oh my God. Yeah. I watched the video a couple of times, and I genuinely like to hear people's opinions on it. And I've heard a couple that I would say challenge my own. I would probably say my opinion is I feel like the staff was upholding what the promoters said because they asked, okay, what is the rules of the event? And the promoter says, well, what the lady said is that the promoter said no women dressed like men. So the first thing that kind of comes to my mind when I'm thinking, and obviously I'm not trying to disparage anybody, is that me personally, what I believe is that if there is an event that is being put on back for a certain group, especially if it is a marginalized group, I think that the person who leads the decisions of that event should be of that group.
Okay.
Meaning, I, as a man, I would not try to keep an all-girls party. Even if I feel like something like that is necessary, which I think it's necessary. Like, I think women need a space to do that. I would not put myself at the forefront. If there are resources that are needed from me as a man, I'll provide them, but I don't think I should make the decisions because I'm not a woman. So I don't know what is appropriate between being a man and a woman. So to me, I think that's the first mistake. I think the woman should have been let in, but I saw someone online have a take that I think was interesting. And it was a woman. And she was saying that the reason she could kind of vibe with the person not being let in is because the party is not necessarily about just being a woman, but the subtext of the party is a party where nobody is looking you.
Okay, but just because I'm a lesbian doesn't mean I'm going to come into the event and start looking every girl in there. I am a woman. You've created a woman-only space. I should be allowed in there. You're going to tell a woman she can't use the female bathroom because she might be looking at a woman in the female bathroom.
Yeah,
it's a woman-only space.
Yeah, overall, I don't think it holds up. But you know what I mean? They're just like, yo, a party is allowed to deny entry of whoever they really want to. And
correct. Yes, they're allowed to, but they have to suffer the consequences of that decision. And the consequences might be that next week only 2 people come to your event.
Yeah.
So if you're making that decision and you're standing on that decision, great for you. That's your decision.
Yeah.
But you cannot make that decision and then be confused or try to control the reactions of people who are upset by your decision. Yeah. Because they're allowed to be upset.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. Because I think even just the articulation about the subtext, which I think is that I think there is like intelligence in that take, because you definitely do have like all girls parties that are like queer inclusive, different from clearly like what that party was going for. And I know there's like 2 intelligent sides, because there will be some girls who will be like, okay, so a man designed a party to just have women that suit the male gaze. And I was just like, ooh, that's a hot take as well. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a solid argument as well. Ultimately, I don't really agree with the decision, but to me, the mistake starts in putting yourself, when I see that, I'm just like, boy, brother, that is what happens when you as a man feel like if somebody comes, yo, I feel like we should, I'm just like, I'm not doing that, because that sounds like problems.
And I saw that they tried to from the beginning, they had a woman as the face of the event, in my opinion, because I knew somebody else was behind it or involved at least. I knew it wasn't just her, but it felt better getting the communication from her. It felt better seeing her push it, her promote it. Then it felt like, okay, yeah, maybe this really is for women.
Yeah.
So maybe that was what their fix was. Maybe in the beginning it was her idea to do. Maybe she went to them with the suggestion.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't know, know?
For sure. I really don't know.
I agree that a man should not be making the decisions around that event if it is for women.
Yeah, because I don't get the feeling, and I could be wrong, I'm making an assumption. I don't get the feeling that if that question was brought, okay, there is a masculine presenting woman outside, so that I don't think a girl is going to say no. Or any of the girls who I even saw associate, I don't think any of them would say no. That feels like something that a man would say no to.
Yeah,
you know
but
what I mean?
I also don't have confirmation that that decision was made by the promoter, not the security who was there at the gate. Because we've all dealt with security sometimes who
they're
they're
push
making
it.
some illogical decisions. Like they feel like they get all of this power from where they are and they want to, like we've all experienced it. We've all heard stories or seen it ourselves.
Yeah. So. It's like you say, it's like if you want to kind of design an event a certain way, you have to kind of get what comes with it. You know what I mean? You keep a party for women and then like week 2 you piss off women. You know what I mean?
No, honestly.
I cannot handle that smoke. You know what I mean? I can't handle that smoke. So as I said, if somebody bring that to me, I'd say, yo, me another one to do that. You know what I mean? Because that one seemed very tricky.
I agree with that because it's just like a straight person trying to hold like a queer event. It feels like you're profiting off of, as he said, marginalized people. You're profiting off of people who have struggles that you will never have to experience, never have to go through. But you've realized, oh, well, there's a gap here that maybe I can make some money off of this. Maybe I can, benefit from this somehow and benefit off of them. And you've taken that opportunity.
I think it's necessary. I don't think it's harming anybody. The bunch of men who were upset at an all-girls party, I don't really understand it because, okay, if your girlfriend goes to all-girls Pilates, do you feel excluded? Like, if my girl says, all right, you are going to a Pilates class and there's all women in there, I don't think anything of it. If them have a girls' night where it's just all girls, I don't think anything of it. If them go on a girls' trip overseas, I don't think anything of it. So if it's an all-girls party, I think it's just probably people are just offended because it's called No Boys Allowed. But I'm just like, yes.
You think differently than a lot of men. Than the typical man, the average man, you think differently.
I take pride.
You are a bit more secure, more intelligent, more educated than a lot of them. You yourself have grown. You've identified, flaws that maybe you had, like you've done actual work on yourself. So because of that, you're not thinking the way that they are. And that's why you can't even begin to understand why they think the way that they do, because the way they think is not logical. It is all driven by emotion. It is not logical at all. It is driven by insecurity. It is driven by wanting to tear women down, by not seeing women as their equals. So every single time there is something that women enjoy, men have to find some way to get themselves involved. They have to find some way to put themselves in it. If they can't, they tear it down. Have to. A perfect example, which you even brought up, is girls going on girls' trips. Me and my friends have done several. And we come back, we're fine, the friendship is fine, everybody's fine. We have our own money, we book our own flights, we book our own accommodation, we pay for whatever excursions, we pay for our food. That is us. Hardworking women who have decided we want a break, we want to take a trip together. Men hear girls' trip and they go, oh, which man paid for that trip? oh, them going out there to go find man or to go fuck man or to this or to that. Or look, haha, all of them have to be sharing a room because they can't afford a room for themselves or things like that. They have to find a way to tear it down. Because anything that shows a woman having a bit of independence and not needing a man to provide, to make it happen, they have a problem with it.
Truth be told, I do agree with what you're saying. And again, just accessing the critiques just to try and have a fair discussion. I think it is because, so much men are critiqued by women about their finances, like even the auger and stuff like that. It's like, okay, a man goes to a party and like, okay, me have to go buy the girl drinks. So it's just like, oh, a woman, you never see a woman come and buy no drinks or buy no bottle and put on a table yet or whatever and stuff like that. So it's like, how would I even describe it? It's like sometimes it's like they're upset because you style me because you don't have no money, but you use man money. You use other man money, but where your money there? Like that is kind of the rubric that kind of comes to my mind. So it's almost like, okay, cool. I believe that women have money. You know what I mean? Like I do believe it. And I know women who spend their own money. Like I know women who spend their own money. I mean, just to be fair, I'm not gonna just come on here and just like wipe the slate clean.
Yeah.
You do have, like as a man, I have definitely experienced more often than not when you have certain female friends, you and them are not dating, but they want to be treated in a way like you're dating them without the full experience. So let me explain. So it's like, okay, I do believe in being a gentleman to women. Like that's how I was grown. But it's almost like, okay, cool. You go out with women or even typically with most of my male friends. If we go out and we buy a bottle, we're not really necessarily asking women to chip in for the bill. You know what I mean? Not that that's a problem, but I know in other circles, it's like them saying, okay, cool, we're friends. Why can't just treat you like a friend? Why you don't pay for your own thing? And I think there are women who definitely do, because I have female friends like that, but I definitely do experience like female friends who they like to live in this weird gray area where no, we're not dating, but oh, I expect you to pick me up and never ask me for gas money. Okay. I expect you, man, listen. I just never grow to ask woman for money. But I hear what them saying, like just all of these extra emotional labor, just show up in all the ways that maybe their boyfriends do. Like, I guess an example from what I would say, like, I guess emotionally intelligent males is that you'll have women who want their male friends to be emotionally available or spend emotional intelligence that I think men want to reserve for their partner. And like, I think there's like a misunderstanding sometimes, you know what I mean? Where
okay, on the spending money end, once again, I don't feel sorry for you guys because you created this system. So, yeah. On the emotional side, though, I think that has to do with people's core values and core beliefs and how they view friendship versus relationship, because we don't all view them the same way. There are things that I might prioritize in a friendship that you don't. Things I prioritize in a relationship that you don't. So I think that may be the disconnect there, where to them, because to me personally, I feel like if you're my friend, yes, a certain amount of like emotional security is expected because I am also providing that to you. But that's just because that's what I value in a friend. I'm not saying it's not different in a partner. It is different in a partner. There are differences in a partner because then we get into, things like the physical side of it, in terms of the passion, like they're just different expectations. It could even be something as simple as the frequency of it. Like me and my partner talking every single day, me and you probably not talking every see the day, you know? So I think that's where that disconnect lies. I don't think anybody is necessarily right or wrong in that situation. I think it's just a compatibility thing.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable too. I think everybody kind of has to know, and I think people have to try and articulate their boundaries a little bit better. I won't write it off as something easy, because I think Jamaica is a country where a lot of things are understood but never explained. You know what I mean? Like, there's things that me and you understand about each other that we have never spoken about.
Yeah.
And same thing vice versa, that, you know what I mean? Like a perfect example. Taylor is not gonna come out with me and I'm gonna ask Taylor, what are you drinking? I'm not asking Taylor for any money. I'm not doing that. But I just was not grown. I was not grown in that way.
Yeah.
The female friends who chip in, they have insisted for that level of equality, and I choose to respect that. That's what they want to do. If at any moment they change their mind, they won't hear a peep out of me, because I was not grown to request money from women.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that, like, for example, that is something that me and Taylor, if I invite Taylor out, I'm not expecting Taylor to pay for anything, just because that's our dynamic and we've never understood it. And I'm cool with it. I'm comfortable with it. But I also know, say, if I say, Taylor, I don't have it today, Taylor's just like, oh, no, you're good, because look how much time I got out and there's already a buckle on Taylor's table, and Taylor's just like, yo, you need to drink from that. You know what I mean? I don't want to say many men. Maybe there are some men who have never experienced that, where they have women in their life that reciprocate with them. Like, a lot of the women in their life lean on them. And I think sometimes there is a hidden resentment where, especially if it's a man that actually want the woman but kind of get regulated to friend zone, and the woman is still leaning on them, I find that there's like a very high propensity for like resentment, because why are you extracting all of this effort from me and you don't want me?
I also want to understand why you guys do that. If you know you don't want to be my friend, you want more from me, why pretend?
Ooh, I have to answer that question. I think in the sake of being real, because I love being real, something don't work out with a woman. A lot of times men believe, okay, it might not work out now, but maybe it can work out later. I don't know if that is a sensible way to think, but they just say, all right, let me hang around in case she changes her mind. You know what I mean? Or let me try to change her mind. There is like this funny nuance, like even when you're looking women, where even when they say like effort and reciprocation, like, I know people who are in committed relationships where the man was just like, dog, I had to run this girl down.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And they're in a good space.
Yeah.
And he say, yo, I had to run her down. So then, even me as a man, I hear that as I say, all right, cool. Okay, cool. So you need to run her down or whatever. And when I say run it down, it's like you need to try multiple at times.
Okay.
So there are some men that have that in their mind. There's also some men who just believe, okay, it didn't work out when we tried it this way, let's just part ways. But I feel like there's this weird thing in Jamaica where if a man, I find like, don't want anything to do with a woman he was pursuing, they like take it personally. You know, I approached it in a certain context and I realized that you're not interested in that context. I pull back. And she's just like, oh, that's like so not cool. I thought we were cool. And I'm like, we're cool, but I don't understand.
Yeah, you're not going to get the same energy.
I don't understand. So I think the men that like keep it is like they are, not all of them, but I think a lot of them are like, all right, something not going for me now, something can go on for me later. It is problematic, I understand, because there's a part of them that is, the friendship is like this kind of intermediary until something can happen, which, you know, if you're like a person, you find out somebody just kind of was sticking around just to basically...
just to wait it out. I think that's the part that bothers me, because I don't think it's impossible for you to say, okay, she didn't want me, I'm gonna turn this off. Because maybe it didn't get that, maybe it wasn't that deep, maybe it wasn't that serious, maybe it was legit just physical attraction and you were like, I really like how you look. So I'm gonna try to whatever. It didn't work out, but you guys realize you mesh as friends, so you stay friends. I'm okay with that. It really is that kind of waiting that I think bothers me, because it feels like, are you really my friend or are you just waiting on me to change my mind about you? Like, yeah.
I guess I'll answer for me because I like to be real. The girls that I'm usually into,
Yes.
I usually like them as people.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I usually like them as people. So I more than likely would never be in a relationship with somebody who I can't be friends with.
Right.
Because that's just how I
As it
am.
should be,
I know some people are very different, like how their relationships work. So I honestly have a high propensity to be attracted to people who I would be friends with as women, because I like personality. Of course, you don't know hot girl or hot girl, but it's like them personality is like a vibe, that kind of connection. So it's like a high chance that a girl that I actually take the effort to pursue, they more than likely meet a lot of the criteria where they could still be friends.
Okay.
What is problematic about that is if you do not resolve the feelings within yourself of, okay, this is gonna work or this is not gonna work, you know? Sometimes you do and sometimes you don't, which is not fair. What sometimes has happened in the past, I've improved it a lot, is that you kind of have these gray area friendships where both people know that they're attracted to each other, but nobody is saying anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we're friends and we just act like they're just people who just avoid it, and it's just like, and I can admit I can sit in that gray area for a long time and just not do anything. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, I don't know why, but I can just sit in that gray area and like that tension don't fizz me out.
I think if it stays there, if it's not said, no line is crossed, I'm good.
Yeah.
Is if you get to the point now where you kind of like a toe goes over the line, then it's like, what's hold on.
I think you know, like I think some people relish living in that gray area because, you know, some people it's like the not so positive parts of life that feel festive. Like just navigating sexual tension without touching it. But you don't know, men. Men are very prone to one day saying, I wonder if I just poke this, what will happen? So, and I do think there are a good amount of men like my age who kind of stay like that. You know what I mean? Like just who would be in the same social class. Like you have a friend where like, you know, kind of have like a mutual attraction, but just don't trouble it, or for whatever reason, it just don't pop up. Because enough time, years later, you'll see them people and them say, oh no, we're just friends, they're not just friends. Them just turn around and have baby. Yeah. So just like, okay, cool. Just friends. Got it. Some of it is nefarious. I don't think it is like there are definitely some people who are waiting for their chance.
Yeah.
There are some people who are okay letting it go, but they do have feelings and they'll leave it alone. And then I guess those are like the two versions. Am I missing out any other version? So I think the first one is a little worse, because as soon as that type of man realizes that there's really no opportunity for anything more, they switch up.
Yes, and what happens to the friendship at that point?
Yeah, and I think that's what women do, like that switch up once they realize, hey, like I had already said to you that like this is not a thing, and then they actually realize, oh, so it's really not happening, and then it's just like a complete vibe change. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we gave you guys a sufficient reasoning. I feel like I covered so much with Taylor. And Taylor, thank you so much for not holding back. I appreciate it so much.
No problem.
I'm very excited to see what the people have to say about this one. So you don't know, say out the comments, tell us what you think. You know what I mean? You can't find Taylor online. She's a
Thank you.
she don't exist online. So I just brought her for this exclusive interview because she has wonderful takes. So guys, don't try it. If you're a girl, I'll point you to Taylor's direction because she's a girl's girl. So you don't know, that's the end of this fire. Thank you again, Taylor, for coming.
Thanks for having me.
And you don't know, everybody, continue to bless out yourself.